Nityam Anantarupam Bhaktanukampa Dhrita Vigrahang Vai Ishavatarang Parameshamidang Tang Ramakrishnang Shirasa Namami. Very revered Swami Abhedanandaji Maharaj, the very respected, illustrious head of this esteemed institute, very revered Swami Abhedanandaji Maharaj, one of our illustrious senior members of Ramakrishna Sangha, my co-speaker, Dr. K. Subramaniam, very respected monks present this morning here, monks of our order, very beloved brahmacharis, and devotees of the spiritual trio, Sri Ramakrishna, the great master, Sharda Devi, the mother of the universe, the divine mother, and also our leader, Swami Vivekananda. Before I really enter into the subject, my subject, as you know, is Relevance of Swami Abhedananda in the modern age. And in a way, it appears that I am supposed to deliver the inaugural address, not mentioned in the program though, but for all practical purposes, it appears that mine is the inaugural address. And in this connection, I am reminded of a Shavian humor. You all have heard about George Bernard Shaw, a great literature of 20th century England. And also you have heard about the legendary Einstein. It was Einstein's birthday. So many dignitaries were invited. Shaw was certainly one of them. And a banquet was organized. And as you know, those days, according to English custom, when there is a banquet, the most respected man assembled in the banquet will be made to speak, will be requested to speak a few words by way of inaugural address. And Shaw, as usual, was invited and requested by everybody present there that, Shaw, you are the most celebrated person amongst us and you must deliver the inaugural address. Then Shaw stood up and told a small story. He told that there was a lion, very old lion, absolutely not able to go outside for hunting. It was a Sunday. The lion was sitting in the cave. A rabbit was passing by. The lion very easily caught hold of the rabbit and told the rabbit that, rabbit, you know, I have got you in my clutch and I am going without food for a long time. And naturally, it's absolutely clear to you about your predicament. And rabbit, as you know, is very clever. Rabbit saw that however old this lion may be, but this lion is certainly stronger than me. There is no point in quarreling with him, contradicting him, or fighting with him either. So he submitted, Your Highness, Your Majesty, it's a great privilege, a great honor for me to be a menu, to be an item of your menu today. But then, I have a small submission. Even the worst offenders before they are executed, they are given a chance to express their last desire. Should I be deprived of that opportunity? Lion, king of the beasts, they call him. Very generous, magnanimous. So in his own characteristic style, he told, no, you also must enjoy this opportunity to express the last desire. Then the rabbit told, Your Majesty, you must deliver an inaugural address before you eat me up. And the lion told, inaugural address? Impossible. Better I go without food for a few days more. I let you go, but I never agree to deliver an inaugural address. And naturally you understand my predicament. I am in. Anyway, and more difficulties, somebody was telling me that we understand relevance of Swami Vivekananda in modern times, but relevance of Abhedananda is something very, very unfamiliar to us. We are not conversant with this. True. But then, Abhedanandaji also has a relevance, and Abhedanandaji, should I say, is an alter ego of Swami Vivekananda. But before I get into this, I would like to explain the background that led all of us here this morning, meaning thereby led to this seminar. We were talking to the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, sometime last year. We told him that Swami Abhedanandaji's sesquicentenary is scheduled for 1780. The government of India has celebrated the sesquicentenary of Swami Vivekananda in a very befitting manner, in great style. So why don't you come forward to celebrate this occasion, the sesquicentenary of Swami Abhedananda too? Narendra Modi readily agreed and told Swamiji, I agree, but on condition. He told one condition. What is that condition all about? He told Ramakrishna Mission must be the organizer for this. And I readily agreed to this. I told, most welcome. We will do our best. We will do our bits. So in the process, Modi ji advised his culture minister to be in touch with us and then work out the modalities of the celebration. And in the process, these seminars were planned out. We are having seminars in 5 places: West, South, East, and North. We have had already one in Pune. We are due to have one in Rajkot of Gujarat. We have had one this month in the Institute of Culture, Kolkata. And then on 31st, we are slated to have one such in Vivekananda University in Belur Math. And also one, maybe in Lucknow, in the northern India. This is meant to remind people about the great culture, the tradition, the heritage, the philosophy that Ramakrishna Vivekananda legacy has left for us. And Swami Abhedanandaji is certainly one of those stalwarts who led this movement and also had carried the torch forward. And then we shall have, as Abhedanandaji Maharaj has already told you, we shall have competitions. We are through that phase. Competitions among the boys and girls of schools, colleges, universities. We are a very beautiful state-of-the-art auditorium is coming up in Belur Math. Work has already started with partial financial assistance from the Ministry of Culture, Government of India. And that auditorium will be named as Swami Abhedananda Convention Center. We have plans for music conference at national and international level. We have plans for having conference on the promotion of Sanskrit, which we should be proud of. And this is the background in briefly of this seminar today. While introducing me, Swami Abhedanandaji, one of my brothers, he introduced me as the chief executive of this organization. I am sorry for it. I am sorry for this because as far as I am concerned, as far as the sannyasis of this order are concerned, we are all very humble servants at the feet of the Master. What I can refer to myself as a very, very humble servant at the feet of the spiritual trio. I am a very humble soldier of the militia founded by Swami Vivekananda. We are neither executives nor leaders. We are humblest of the humble leaders that we should have in our organization. Which is why I, with all humility, will correct my younger brother Abhedanandaji that we all are humble, very humble soldiers at his feet. I remember when I was a student doing my master's, I was also a student of Ramakrishna Mission, and a team of foreign dignitaries came to that ashrama where I was a student. They went around the ashrama and met the Swami in charge, as you have Swami Abhedanandaji here. He was a stalwart by himself, and then they were telling while taking leave of him that, Swami, what is the secret of your efficient management? You are an ashram, you are an order of monks, and not supposed to be very professional. People with shaven head, putting on gerua clad, seems to be quite innocent otherwise. And how do you run your institution so efficiently, so effectively, so with absolutely there is no din and bustle of life, and there is absolute discipline, everything is spick and span. What is the secret? Swami told that, come with me. He took them to the chapel of the center, and he stood in front of Sri Ramakrishna and told, look, this is our master. We all believe that he is the only manager and all of us are mismanagers, and that is the secret of our efficient management. So our ashramas, our centers, our institutions, our organization, here the doer is the master, the spiritual trio, mother and Swamiji. Blessed we are. We none of us are worthy to be his instrument, but blessed we are that they have made us instrument infinite, due to infinite unconditional grace, picked us up from the street and made men of us. That's why we are absolutely the servants from all the time to come. Swami Ranganathanandaji founded this center, and Swami Ranganathanandaji, while he was president in Belur Math, so Swamis used to come. I do not know whether how many of you know the humorous aspect of his personality. He was a very humorous person otherwise. Like one humor I will like to share with, though slightly out of context here this morning, that one day Ranganathanandaji is sitting, and then one monk came, senior monk, and he asked Ramakrishna Maharaj today you look to be, look so introvert, so ingrown. What's happened to you? He told, look, all the people say that they want emancipation, liberation, mukti. But I was thinking, I don't want emancipation or liberation or mukti. I want to be reborn. Well, how is it, Maharaj? All our struggle is to get emancipation, and you say that you want to be reborn. Well, yes, I want to be reborn. I want to enjoy the Leela of Thakur. I want to enjoy the Leela divine play of Sri Ramakrishna more and more. Then where do you intend to be born again? In Kerala? Well, no, never in Kerala again. Well, why? Because I was born in Kerala and I was deprived of eating fish. I never could eat fish. So if I am born again, I would like to be born in Bengal because I will have the privilege of eating fish. So, Swami Ranganathanandaji was asked, both by the insider and outsider, many times, that Swami, what is the university you studied in? Because Swami Ranganathanandaji has the rare privilege and rare distinction of addressing almost all the leading major universities of the world. Naturally, this question came up to people time and again, both monks and lay. And whenever he used to be asked that what is the university you studied in, Swami Ranganathanandaji's typical answer was that the only university I studied in was Ramakrishna University. After writing my school final, matric examination, I have walked to the Ramakrishna Mission and joined it. I might have passed, I might not have passed. But this Ranganathanandaji, so famous, so noted, so renowned. Once it so happened I was in Delhi. There was a function in Delhi. The then Premier of India, Madam Indira Gandhi, she was from Srinagar. She didn't sleep the previous night. She was taking rest. She was to come and attend that function. She didn't come. There was a message from PM's house that she would not be able to come. And Dhawan was her private secretary. He informed this. Then Ranganathanandaji heard it from the head of Delhi Center. Buddhanandaji was head of Delhi Center at that time. And then Ranganathanandaji told Buddhananda, get me Hindu. So Indira Gandhi was on the other side of the phone. And he simply told, Hindu, come here and be fresh. Okay, Maharaj. Indira Gandhi came, was there, and she told while going, yes, really, I am refreshed, I am refreshed. This was the personality that was in Ranganathanandaji Maharaj. And Ranganathanandaji used to say very often that with Sri Ramakrishna, yes, I am somebody, as a monk of this great illustrious order. Without Sri Ramakrishna, I am -0. So, Sri Ramakrishna is first, Sri Ramakrishna second, Sri Ramakrishna last in our life. Now, as I was telling that somebody asked me, and it is really something which is not very much conversant we are with, that relevance of Swami Abhedanandaji Maharaj in modern times. Now, one must acknowledge the fact that when Swami Abhedanandaji Maharaj, whom his brother disciples used to call fondly Kali Tapasvi, he was a great yogi, and Sri Ramakrishna accosted him as one who was a yogi in his previous birth. Once it so happened that Vivekananda and Abhedananda, at that time Kali and Naren, they were meditating. And Swamiji touched him. Sri Ramakrishna heard and he was very shocked. He was shocked because that was abortive. That was abortive. Kali has one kind of bent of mind. Kali has a particular tendency, and Naren has a different tendency. And now Naren has, before Kali's emotions, tendencies got mature, Naren touched him and infused his tendency into Abhedananda, means Kali. Which is why I think you will excuse me if I say that Abhedanandaji was next to Swami Vivekananda in intellectual faculties. Which is why again I must say Gyanodhanandaji, especially Bodhamayananda, mentioned it, that Swamiji once told when Abhedanandaji went to America that when this heartthrob will stop, these lips will not speak anymore, I will speak through these dear lips. And Abhedanandaji was successful to that extent, both verbatim and in spirit. Now let me, to make this, to drive this point to a logicality, I will digress. I would like to digress. Hope you permit me to digress a little. You know, if we look to the Ramakrishna Vivekananda movement, just crystallizing 19th century, last decade, meaning thereby 1890s, when many people didn't listen about Sri Ramakrishna, many people in India, even for that matter in Kolkata, didn't know about Sri Ramakrishna. One professor in Oxford writes the life of a real Mahatman. And Vivekananda, a true disciple as he was, a grateful disciple as he was, he felt I should go. He used to refer to Professor Max Muller. Professor Max Muller was the author of this story of a real Mahatman. I should go and acknowledge my gratitude to the professor. About Professor Max Muller, Vivekananda held him in very high esteem. He told that he was Sion Muni in his previous incarnation, so on and so forth. It was drizzling. In England, you know, it drizzles very frequently. In England, two things are very unpredictable. One is weather, another is man. Britishers are very unpredictable. Anyway, now Swamiji went to Professor Max Muller's house in Oxford. As I told, it was the ultimate decade of the 19th century. Swamiji acknowledged his gratitude, his debt towards the professor, because he was the first man, when many in Kolkata didn't listen about him, wrote a book on the life and teachings of his master. Took leave of him, young sannyasin. Professor came out with an umbrella, it was drizzling. And then professor held the umbrella on his head. Swamiji was embarrassed. Swamiji told Professor, you are such a celebrated, learned man. I am just a young mendicant. Don't put me in embarrassment. Time and again Swamiji was telling this. Professor was silent and going ahead with Vivekananda. First time, second time, third time. And then Professor says slowly, very softly, it is not every day that a son of Sri Ramakrishna comes to your doorstep. A son of Sri Ramakrishna comes to your doorstep only once. You have come and I will look at you. I will have glimpse of you. I will see you as long as my eye stretches. What a brilliant compliment to the Ramakrishna Vivekananda movement, Ramakrishna Vivekananda ethos. And then, in 1964, nowadays, lot of talks about women lib. We have reached a situation A few days back, an advocate of Chennai High Court was with me. So he told that Swamiji, apart from being an advocate in the judicature of Chennai, I am the president of the Husbands Association in Tamil Nadu. So I told that we have heard about wives' associations, but husbands' association we were yet to hear about, and we hear about. He told that my wife tortures me till 1 o'clock. And what do we do? I have plenty of money. I have told her, take any amount of money you want to, take all the subsistence, relieve me, and give divorce. She tells, I will not give divorce to you. I do not want money either. I will go on torturing you up to 1 o'clock. So there is an aberration. In the women's sleep movement, there is an aberration, true. The other day I was going to address the students in a university in Bengal. It's a famous university, rated as one of the premier universities in India. And then when my car was going to the university, I found a few boys, innocent boys, standing in a cluster. And then, wearing earrings, long hairs, absolutely not speaking to one another, silent but in a cluster. My vehicle went a few feet ahead, and I found a few girls standing almost in a cluster, giggling, laughing, smoking, and they were in pants and trousers and ganjis. Then my car was approaching. My driver is a person from Jharkhand. In Hindi he told Swamiji, आपको परेशान न हो गया नहीं क्या? आप परेशान हैं? बोले थोड़ा बहुत तो परेशानी हुआ। बोले परेशानी का कोई बात नहीं है। पहले जमाना में लड़के जो करते थे वो आजकल लड़कियां करती हैं, लड़कियां जो करती थी वो आजकल लड़के करते हैं। Earlier, whatever the male used to do, now it is females do. And whatever the female used to do, now it is the males do. So there is no point in getting upset about it. Yes, true, there is aberration in women's sleep. But how to correct this? There has been a thinking across the world today, especially the Western world. And they say that look towards Ramakrishna, look towards Sarada Devi. And in 1964, those who are in touch with the women lib movement in the world today, you must have heard of Betty Friedan. Betty Friedan's famous book, Women Mystic, followed by the second stage. Betty Friedan was one of those advocates who used to advocate for women live in any form in the society. But when she writes second stage, in the first part of 80s, she writes that I have made a mistake. So long I searched, I was in quest for a man in woman. What I should have done is to search a greater woman in a woman. And there the God has failed, I have failed. The same thing is Simone de Beauvoir. The same thing she also tells. She is alive even now. Now in 1964, what happened? Let's see. One girl in Hollywood, in petrol pump, her body was found hanging from a tree near the petrol pump. Entire body was burnt. How she was hanging is not known, but two hands were intact. Her two hands were intact. On the left hand, there was a placard. What is that placard all about? Placard is, "Oh, women leaders of America, the way you are leading the women movement, you will not get women within the next 1,000 years. If you really are serious about the cause, listen to this man and listen to what he says. Do exactly what he did and what he said. And the photograph was of Sri Ramakrishna. The name of that girl is Nancy Louis Moore, a 19-year-old girl. She says, I became a beacon light by sacrificing my life for the greater cause of women lib movement. I am speaking of women lib because this is a subject very close to the heart of Sri Ramakrishna, Vivekananda, and also Sharda Devi. As a matter of fact, both Swami Abhedanandaji and Swami Vivekananda diagnosed the ills of this country. They told that this country had a very, very great past, but then it has lost its seat of primacy. Why? They are very categorical. They limit the reasons to two. One reason is historic neglect of the masses, which is why Swamiji went to Chicago, which is why Swamiji lived his entire life. Swamiji gave a new connotation to sannyas. Vivekananda gave a new connotation to sannyas. Vivekananda gave a new connotation to religion. Swami Vivekananda went around India before he went to the West. To my humble mind, the first 2.5 years, at that time he was Bibidishananda, of course, he looked at India with eyes closed. He meditated on India, her problems. And the rest 2.5 years, he looked at India with eyes open. He saw India in its entirety. When Vivekananda went to Pohari Baba of Gazipur, as you know, Pohari Baba means Pavanahari. One who lives on air is Pohari. Vivekananda saw one Pohari Baba in Gazipur. But when Bibidishananda came down to the Rajpath of Gazipur to Kanyakumari, he saw lakhs and lakhs of Pohari Babas standing on both these sides of the street. These Pohari Babas became Pavanahari, not out of a spiritual arch, like Gazipur's Pohari Baba. They were Pavanahari because they have absolutely nothing to eat. The vast, hungry multitude. Hum bhuke hain. Swamiji says, throw the bells into the Ganges. Swamiji says, a religion is no religion which cannot give a piece of bread to a hungry man. A religion is no religion which cannot give medicine to a patient. A religion is no religion which cannot give light of education to ignorant. A religion is no religion which cannot stop the wells of the orphans. A religion is no religion which cannot wipe out the widow's tears. And that is what religion is. This is why what we find today, we find this order is highly acclaimed by other monastic orders of the world. Because this order is inclusive. Ours is the only order of monks in the world which has monks even from Iran and Iraq. We have monks from the Christian community, large in number. We have monks from the Buddhist community and all other communities, major communities of the world. And this is something next to none in the world. Which is why one of our very senior Swamis, he has passed away a few years back from now. He went to Vatican. The Vatican authority invited him to speak on Sri Ramakrishna in Christ from Vatican Radio, which is almost an exclusive prerogative of the Pope. But that privilege was extended to him. as a token gesture. When he spoke, Pope John Paul II heard his speech. And then he was taken to John Paul II. The Swami, in his humble way, thought that this Pope, he is the emperor of 1/3 of the world, and we are so small. He may not be knowing anything about us. So he introduced, I am so and so. I belong to an order of monks, which is the smallest, the youngest, and the poorest order of monks in the world. There are a lot of gods in our country today. One Bhagavan, he fled away at midnight in fear of police putting on salwar and kameez from Delhi. So a lot of gods are there. Anyway, in the midst of all these gods, we are very poor, we are very humble, we are very young, we are also very small. We are 1760, taking everyone together. So he introduced himself in this way. I belong to an order of monks which is the smallest, the youngest, and the poorest order of monks in the world. And John Paul II stood up and told Swami, we know everything about you. You belong to Ramakrishna Mission. It is true. You are the youngest, the smallest, and the poorest order of monks in the world. But today, you are spiritually the most vibrant, most powerful order of monks in the world. Because Sri Ramakrishna, Mother, and Swamiji is so living, we can catch them, we can talk to them. Once it so happened in our congregation of monks, there was a talk that we should have some code of conduct for our monks. It was Ranganathanandaji stood up and protested. What nonsense you are speaking about. Sri Ramakrishna is living. You can touch, you can talk to him even today. And why do we require, in the presence of Sri Ramakrishna Mother and Swamiji, a bundle of code of conducts? It was not done. It is not done as yet. So, they speak of Ramakrishna order, spiritually most vibrant order of monks in the world. There is a talk in the managerial parlance today, be it in America, be it in India, be it in Europe, that a handful of monks with 7 heads, with Gerua cloth on, coming from different backgrounds, different food habits, different linguistics, different garment practices, and they have created a ripple, not only in the Ganges or Godavari, they have created ripples in the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. How is it possible? Is the question that is being discussed, hotly discussed in the managerial parlance of the world today. And the answer is again the same. It is because we think Sri Ramakrishna is the doer and we are instrument. But what I am trying to tell is, ours is a movement which is as old as 120 years. And within 120 years, we have reached a pride of place which is being talked about by the religious leaders, by the managerial doyens, by the politicians. Today, there is not a single political party in India who doesn't carry the photograph of Swami Vivekananda in their procession. In Calcutta, on 12 January, 2 kilometers away from Swamiji's ancestral house, there was clashes between two political outfits. He says, carrying Vivekananda's photograph is my domain, my right, not yours. And they say that it is our right, not yours. There was clashes, a lot of people are being treated in different nursing homes in Calcutta. Why? Swamiji was assiduously above politics, to the extent that Swamiji told us, instructed us not to dabble in politics, to the extent that ours is the only order of monks in the world who do not cast vote in election. To that extent we are above politics. And Vivekananda has become the subject for praise, for quarrel, for fight, for union, for construction, and for destruction as well. How is it possible? And then another Swami, he represented Government of India. The Government of India requested him to represent Government of India in the 1000th year celebration of Orthodox Church in Soviet Russia, then Soviet Russia, Gorbachev's Russia, when glasnost is complete, but perestroika is yet to take place. That Swami was lodged in a hotel. The chairman of Academy of Science in Soviet Russia, he came to Calcutta, and then he was a guest of that Swami in our famous and prestigious Institute of Culture. So when he heard that this Swami is in the town, he went to that hotel and requested Swamiji to accept his invitation for lunch. Swami told, yes, I gladly do that, but one condition. Condition is, you must restrict the number, because I do not know much of Russians and you do not know much of English. But he is a very important man. He couldn't, help with less than 50. It was 50. Swami was talking at the time. One old lady. It came in Prabuddha Bharata. You can read it for yourself in 1987 issue. The lady has come, absolutely no teeth in the jaw, with a stumbling stick in hand. Swami stood up, 109-year-old, that lady was. And when Swami stood up, what happened? That lady is telling, Swami, please be seated, please be seated. And Swami is requesting the lady, please be seated. Ma'am, please take your seat. And then Swami came out that, look, two considerations restrict me from sitting before you take your seat, ma'am. One consideration is, I come from an order of monks where every woman is considered to be divine incarnation of Holy Mother. Number one. Number two is, had that lady who gave birth to me been alive today, she would have been junior to you in age. These are the two considerations that restrict me. And that lady then was speaking, doesn't know much of English, speaking in a humble voice, in a broken English, you belong to Ramakrishna. Swami says, yes, ma'am, I do belong to Ramakrishna Mission. Ramakrishna is so pure. Ramakrishna is so pure. How can I take my seat before you take your seat, Swami? And who was that lady? That lady was the personal secretary, private secretary of Vladimir Lenin during the Russian cultural revolution in 1917. Lenin, as you know, one of the basic tenets of his philosophy is religion is opium. And his private secretary, after so many years, telling that you belong to Ramakrishna and Ramakrishna is so pure. How can I take my seat before you take your seat? Now, why I am telling all this? You may mistake me in two ways. Number one is that this Swami is fond of beating his own drum. No, I am not doing that. Otherwise, you can think that he doesn't know much about Abhedananda, and that's why he is digressing so much. That's also perhaps not be a justice to me. What I am trying to tell you is that this order, this illustrious order, the order that shakes the earth today, the order which stands like a highlight, a lighthouse, order which is revered by all the people, be he the President of America, be she the Queen of England, be he the Prime Minister of India. Our Prime Minister went to Belur Math for becoming a sadhu before he joined the RSS and so on. Why everybody is after it? The other day, that computer tycoon, Bill Gates, was in Delhi. He was asked by the media people that, Gates, you had been rated by Forbes magazine in America as the richest business magnate in 2012. You have come from a middle class background, and what is the secret about it? You're scaling the Everest today. Gets told the secret doesn't lie in America, secret lies in India. And what is the secret all about? He says it is Vivekananda and Vivekananda all along. When I was a school-going boy, I came across Vivekananda. And it is from Vivekananda I learned that having determination, devotion, conviction, courage, and confidence, I will be able to scale the Mount Everest one day. And I have done this. Even today, wherever I am, in any part of the world, be it Africa or Asia or Europe or America, I never retired without going through at least a paragraph from Vivekananda. Be it in a circuit house, be it a government guest house, be it a hotel, anywhere for that matter. Now, this triumphant march. Swamiji says this order will continue for 1500 years. Swamiji says the entire world will be divulged with spiritual floods, and the Belur Math will be the nerve center. Belur Math is so important today. Last year, 2 young boys from a slum area, there are slums around Belur Math. From the slums, 2 boys going to primary school, very poor family, had a deep in the Ganges, was coming back. They got 2 crackers lying in the street. That was Diwali, 3-4 days back. And they thought that let us crack it. So they cracked it. It was about 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the evening. The police people came. The Union Secretary of Home rang me up. Rajnath Singh ji rang me up to know what happened. Belur Math, there has been cracking in Belur Math. And it was #1 news in the world news for 1 month. Now you understand how important Belur Math is today in the international view. Why and how? That is where I come to, or we come to, Swami Abhedananda. Unless Abhedanandaji Maharaj we had, we would not have this illustrious order. How? As you know that after the passing away of the master, the brother disciples, they made a vow that they will not go back home. They will lead a life of renunciation, a renunciate's life. Narendranath obviously was the choice for the leadership. Sri Ramakrishna handed over the baton of legacy to him. They all were in Baranagar, as you know. And then they took a vow on 24th of December, Christmas Eve, in the ancestral home of Swami Premanandaji Baburam Maharaj, to take the vow of renunciation and service, to take the vow of sannyas. But sannyasis have a code. Like Sri Ramakrishna says, a CID can recognize another CID. In Sri Ramakrishna's language, a military can recognize another military. So suppose this is, will you excuse me? Ramarao used to put on this saffron, is it? So, to go to the market and purchase a piece of cloth, saffron cloth, is no difficulty. If you have money in your purse, you can go to the market and purchase it, get it stitched and put it on. Does that make you a sannyasin? No, absolutely not. Then what makes a sannyasin sannyasin? If I go to Uttarakhand as a mendicant monk, if I go shelter and patronage from another monk in Uttarakhand, how he will recognize that I am a genuine sannyasin? There is a mantra to which non-sannyasins have no access. And this is what makes them sannyasin or non-sannyasin. This mantra is very important. Unless you are a sannyasin, how do you know this mantra? You do not. Is it not? This is what was given to this order by Swami Abhedanandaji Maharaj. When his brother disciples were thinking that we can't accept anybody else as our guru, as the master, as the emperor of our heart, as the pole star of our life, as our guide, as our end all and be all, except our master Sri Ramakrishna. Then, if you go to another sannyasin, you make him guru, consciously or unconsciously. We do not want anybody else as our guru. At the same time, we want to be sannyasin proper. And we find Abhedanandaji Maharaj was in the Himalayas. He was in a state of half sleep, half awakened. All of us have that experience. And the sannyasins were discussing this mantra. He heard it. He retained this mantra in his heart. And when the Guru Bhais were in a dilemma, discussing the way out, Kali Tapasvi stood up and told, I know this mantra. And the praise mantra that Ramakrishna order has is the praise mantra for 1,000 years down the centuries that the traditional sannyasins have in our country. And unless Abhedanandaji Maharaj was there, had he not heard it and had he not retained it, today perhaps Ramakrishna order would have remained a myth, not a reality. And the world would have lost the chance of being witness to a great revolution, a revolution that takes place for long 1500 years. Swamiji says, I see, I do not imagine. India must rise. Swamiji says, China will rise and fall. Russia will rise and fall. China will rise and fall. And then India will rise, but with one condition. What is the condition all about? It must sit at the feet of Sri Ramakrishna. That is the condition. And this great movement of liberation and emancipation not only on spiritual fronts, emancipation for women, emancipation of those people, vast multitude whose tears are never accounted for, emancipation of one and all. and this would not have happened in this world and the world tomorrow had Abhedanandaji Maharaj been not there. Which is why I tell, if this order is relevant, Abhedanandaji Maharaj also is equally relevant, if not more. Abhedanandaji was relevant yesterday, Abhedanandaji is relevant today, and Abhedanandaji will remain relevant tomorrow. In Swami Abhedananda, we find a maker of modern India. It might as well be said that he was one of the foremost world conquerors of our times. He believed in equality of faiths. His conception of religious democracy and spiritual equality was organically linked with his ideas of the fullness of life. Nobody except Swami Vivekananda had been a more pronounced architect of the Republic of Religions than Swami Abhedanandaji Maharaj. He considered weakness and procrastination to be sinful. What he wanted was strength. His patriotism was perennial and of the loftiest type. I would be doing injustice to Swami Abhedanandaji Maharaj and misinterpreting his theories if he were only placed in the perspective of a religious preacher whose only merit consisted in lecturing, translating, editing, or popularizing the teaching of Ramakrishna or Vedanta. His followers are not sannyasin alone, but are also lawyers, clerks, cultivators, and others as well. In spite of his emphasis on the soul and communion with God, Swami Abhedanandaji Maharaj succeeded in becoming one of the most influential expounders of secular endeavors and of positivism. Moreover, he was a lover of art, poetry, and music. The folk mind was really influenced by his art of teaching and preaching of the cult of Karma Yoga. Like his predecessor, he also initiated, predecessors means Swami Vivekananda, initiated in India the cult of Daridra Narayana. He was emphatically a nationalist and yet a fervent internationalist. In all his thoughts and activities, he expressed nothing but his own experiences. Everywhere he wanted men and women who were energetic, freedom-loving, courageous, and endowed with personality, and he was realistic and conscious enough to recognize the distinction between one individual and another, and in his program for the remarking of man, he knew how to adapt it to the requirements of each. At Jamshedpur in 1922, in reply to the address of welcome, the Swami said, "It's good to stand for Swadeshi, but when asked the meaning of this word, somebody told me that Swadeshi means deceiving some brothers and making money under false pretense. I think we are not far from it as yet. Anyway. No, my friends, that is not the meaning of the word Swadeshi. Swadeshi must stand on the platform of honesty. Mahatma Gandhi's personal friend, Abhedanandaji, was. Abhedanandaji agreed with Mahatmaji on many counts, on all his basic counts, but he seriously differed from Mahatmaji on certain serious issues. He preached religious reforms, social reconstruction, God, soul, avatara, etc. But it was the making of individuals, the training for manhood, the awakening of personality on which his entire soul was focused. There were few men who had promulgated this doctrine of anarchism, moral freedom, individual liberty, and man's mastery over the circumstances of life as ardently as the Swami Abhedananda. The words that were constantly on his lips were close your mouth and go on walking. And he himself adhered to this doctrine up to the last day of his life. Let us remember the year 1906, when ideas of 1905 took a definite shape and the Swami gave an impetus to the cause. Today, in 2018, it's possible to observe objectively that among all the agencies that are contributing to the expansion of the intellectual horizon, both in the East and the West, and the establishment of international faith and sympathy, none is more substantial and profound as a world force than the Vedanta Center in the United States of America, which, as is well known, have served to bring the men and women of America into friendly contacts with those of India. Swami Abhedanandaji was in charge of those centers for about a quarter of a century, 1896 to 1921, and fostered this work with his wholehearted energy, devotion to establish cultural unity, peace and harmony, and to bring about international sympathy towards India, the key to her freedom. Indeed, it's possible to write volumes about his messages and activities during those glorious years spent abroad, physically of athletic build, healthy and strong as a mere man. He knew to be very realistic, knew how to do justice to the daily meals, and this was the man whom Sri Ramakrishna initiated as one of his chief disciples, and who spent his whole life for the making of modern India and for the expansion of culture and civilization abroad. With these few words, I reiterate that Abhedanandaji is very relevant even in modern times in the 21st century, and will continue to remain relevant during the centuries to come, because of what Abhedanandaji dealt with, what Abhedanandaji spoke of was of eternal value, that man stands for, civilization stands for, God stands for. With these few words, before I take leave, I express my profound gratitude to the illustrious head of this esteemed institution, as I say, Swami Abhedanandaji Maharaj, for having remembered me for this occasion. And it was an additional reward for me that I had the holy company of Swami Brahmeshanandaji Maharaj. I am very lucky about it. And then I just met the learned professor who was vice chancellor somewhere and maybe chancellor now. Anyway, so it's all that is due to Abhedanandaji's kind gesture to me, and I am extremely grateful to him. And I beg to be apologized for having been unduly long, but I think I couldn't help the situation. So before taking leave of you, I would thank you very profusely for lending this patient audience to me, and I would wrap up with again a humor, common man's humor, that when a speaker stands before a microphone, he forgets about the time. I don't know where about this cause and the space, but time certainly he forgets about. So one speaker is speaking, and unlike me, he spoke with eyes closed. And what happened? The night was over, it was morning, and when he opened his eyes, he found one boy with a club in hand roaming about in the hall, and absolutely there is none there. So then that speaker called that boy and told that, look, why you are here? Now that everybody has gone, why you didn't go? Oh, I think you are here waiting for me to depart and then close the auditorium. Well, no, that's not my job, because I am not one who has invited you. I am not one of those who have organized this program. Why should I bother about closing the auditorium? Well, then are you here to wrap up the carpet after I go? Well, no, that's not even my job. Then why you are here, my boy? Well, I am looking for the man who gave you appointment. I've got to deal with him. So if you really want to deal with anyone, that is the man. Thank you.